Come on, Google. There we go. It's Tuesday, September 8th, 2020. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we are talking about Logitech G's Playmaster software for Counter-Strike. You know, I haven't really taken days off until this past weekend. I took a Friday off, and I had the Monday holiday. So I had 4 days where I didn't have to do work. That's the longest vacation I've had since COVID started. It was weird. Like today I had to remember what the hell I do for a job. Like I log into this email system and all these people are like emailing me asking for stuff. And I'm just like, what? What do you want? Who are you again? What do I do? Also, my boss is on vacation all week, so that's fun too.
Yeah, I definitely did not know what to do when I started work again today. I was like, Arr.
Well, the worst part is...
And then I had meetings all day, so that kind of actually helped because it's like, oh, I'll just figure out what I got to do while I'm in all these meetings.
Yeah, the problem is I got to run meetings. A lot of these meetings, I had to run meetings. I had to remember, why did I set up this meeting? What was so important to last week Rim that I made a meeting?
If I set up a meeting, I can click on the calendar thing and it'll tell me what.
Yeah, true. But yeah, it was weird to be back at work, and I still got 4 more days I can use, assuming I'm going to save all 10 till next year that I can save. So maybe I'll use some for PAX. We'll see. Mm-hmm. Maybe I can sneak upstate and try to do some like distanced apple picking.
Yeah, we'll see about the apple picking situation now.
Yeah. I feel like if I want to do that, that's like a Wednesday type thing, like in the middle of the week.
We ordered some apples that were delivered. They're enormous.
I just like apple picking. I usually can't eat the apples we pick because of my my sensitivity to pollen in apple skins.
I mean, the apple picking's nice, but I really actually like, a little cider donut.
Oh, yeah, I get the cider donut with the cider.
A little apple cider.
Cider donut with a side of cider. Some mulled wine.
Welcome to my country, apple farm.
Go see, there's like the goat that's friendly you can go poke at, see some horses.
Feed a goat an apple.
Normal times is be surrounded by all the New York City people who also went upstate to experience these things.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of news. We'll only talk about a few highlights, I think, because we don't want to make this like the news show. We actually have a lot to say about the main topic. But the biggest gaming news was probably that if you didn't see this coming, you probably had your head under a rock. Like this was definitely coming for a long time. But now it's official. MAGFest is canceled. There is no MAGFest in January.
Yeah, it's number one. I knew there wasn't going to be a MAGFest in January.
Yeah, not because we had secret knowledge, because...
Common sense?
Yeah. Granted... Katsucon is not canceled yet, and Katsucon happens shortly after MAGFest.
Katsucon doesn't have common sense.
Yeah. MAGFest did the right thing. I see a lot of people online really mad about this. Like, the fuck is wrong with you?
Like, you would actually go to a MAGFest?
Yeah.
Like, really?
I filled out that survey, and I was like, no, I would not come. I even told MAGFest, like, look.
I also don't understand the people who, like, have common sense, and they knew it wouldn't happen. But then it's like, well, you're sad when it's finally announced. It's like, it was, if you're going to be sad, the time to be sad was a long time ago. Like, why? I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, I guess some people, like, you might not mourn it until you get the news. Like, I guess I mourned MAGFest about 3 months ago.
As soon as after PAX East was over and the world set on fire, it's like it took about a couple weeks, and I'm like, well, I guess we're not going to any conventions until I was. Yep. I think it
was a pretty quick progression.
Minimum,
it was like
at minimum East 21,
yep.
if not West 21.
At first it was like PAX West has like a 1% chance, and then it went from that to see ya in 2022.
Yep, pretty much.
Like maybe I think like the last half of 2021 is the earliest possible time, but. Considering the way America's going, I'm not too faithful in that. I've seen those numbers of people who won't get vaccinated, and I don't know what to do about that.
So anyway, even though MAGFest is canceled, a lot of people may not realize that, unlike PAX, which is a for-profit endeavor, right, run by Reed and an arcade company, right, MAGFest is a lot like Otakon. And
it's a 501c3. It's a non-profit.
It's a non-profit, and it actually does things all year round. The Super MAGFest event in National Harbor is just their biggest event.
Yeah,
right?
What we call MAGFest, what most people call MAGFest is their like main event, but they got a ton of other stuff. They got MAGstock.
MAGFest does a lot of things with all the money that they mostly make from the one event. Right?
Yeah.
It's like a lot of and I don't think that that's foolish of them. There are many, many, many nonprofits that operate the same way. If you look, at like your local museum probably has like one big annual fundraiser that accounts for probably half or more than half of their revenues per year, right? So MAGFest is similar. Super MAGFest in National Harbor, the MAGFest event, accounts for probably most of their money. I'm guessing. I don't know what their money is, right?
Yeah, I've never looked into that.
It seems quite obvious just based on the numbers, right? You can see how many people watch like the MAGFest Twitch stream when it goes live, or how many people go to MAGWest or any of those other MAG events, right? It's like, yeah, they're making most of their money on Super MAG, right? Clearly. Which means if they cancel the event, which is I think why they were so hesitant to cancel, despite there being no alternative, is that what are they going to do about money?
Yeah.
So to prevent MAGFest itself from dying, they're going to have some sort of telethon thing.
Coming up real soon, like September 13th, like next week.
Yeah, so, if you want MAGFest to survive, you can go help them out. But on the other hand, it's like, if you got money to go.
Yeah, like MAGFest is real important to me, but I am sending a lot of money to Democrats and to bail funds right now because those are more. If the Democrats don't win and people don't get out of jail for like exercising their First Amendment rights, then there won't be a MAGFest anyway.
Right, it's like the scene in The Matrix. Like, what good is it if you have no mouth to speak? Right? It's like. So it's like if there's no National Harbor, what good is there of MAGFest, right?
Yep.
So
we'll see. I might submit some stuff to the telethon, like art, and because they're looking like they want like 60-second, like, hey, send us a video, talk about MAGFest for 60 seconds, like fun stuff like that. I'm happy to do stuff like that, but I'm sure some of you out there, because one thing MAGFest has always had is a big culture of the attendees paying more just to make MAGFest happen, like the special badges and all that stuff.
Well, that don't get you any privileges, though.
Yeah, which I've always actually really liked. I hated.
They get you a fancier badge.
Yeah, like I hated the Comic Cons that are like, this badge costs $400 more, and you get like Stan Lee will lick you, like that kind of nonsense.
Yo, zombie Stan Lee now.
No. I feel like a certain population would pay more for that.
Ugh.
Yeah. But MAGFest, it was like, yeah, you can pay more and we'll give you swag so other people know you paid more. But we're not going to give you anything. You still got to stand in line for like a panel you want to see. You don't get to cut the line of the Initial D machine.
Nope. No one cuts that line.
No. That line also doesn't move. But
That's
right. I know this is sad, but at the same time, there's no way around this. Like, I think MAGFest can survive. I do think, however, and like if you're not thinking about this, but you go to a lot of cons, you got to be ready for the reality that I think a lot of smaller fan-run cons are just going to go under.
I think just a lot of things are going to go under.
A lot of movie theaters are going to go bankrupt. Like they're just going to shut down. A lot of dinner theater, a lot of community theater.
Yeah, and so I think, it's like, okay, right? It's like something goes out of business and then there's some debt that exists there, right? And that debt just never gets paid because someone went bankrupt. And then there's now like, empty space for new things to appear, and it'll just be sort of a changeover.
Like imagine the year like 2023. The angry, horny thirst for conventions is going to be an unstoppable resource. New cons can get investors and start from scratch if they need to. The staff will exist. If a small con goes under, it would be a smart move for basically the same con with a different name, but most of the same staff to just reform in a couple of years.
Right. So in a functioning society that bailed out failing things from the bottom and not from the top, believing in some trickle-down nonsense, right? We would just prop up everything and say, oh, these are all successful businesses. They'll all just can't be successful right now because it's a global pandemic and other things, right? We'll just prop them up until they can be functional later, right? And then everything would be fine. But instead, we're just going to have everything go out of business and then everything start new businesses after, and you will be basically back where we started, assuming there is an after.
Yeah.
Right? Assuming there is an after, right? Everything will just come back because the demand will, not go anywhere, right? The desire to go to a convention assuming a convention is a profitable business to begin with, a viable business. It's not profitable. It's a nonprofit, but you get the idea.
The commercial cons, they'll be fine. They'll come back because those companies have deep pockets and make money from them. They also don't make as much of their money from the badges as from a lot of other stuff. So there's a lot of factors at play.
Yeah, MAGFest isn't selling giant booths to Sony or whoever.
Yeah,
right?
MAGFest just has a giant expo hall of stuff that is not that expensive to be in.
Nope.
So Godspeed, MAGFest. I hope you survive. And just keep an eye on this space. There's nothing else we can really do.
Nope.
All right. Any got some tennis news.
Oh, yeah. So because of the pandemic and whatnot, and injuries also, right? A lot of the top tennis players are not playing in the U.S. Open in Queens, right? A stone's throw from here. Which always happens on Labor Day weekend, and we miss it because of PAX West, which didn't happen, obviously. We would have just been coming home from PAX West now. There normally wouldn't be a Geek Nights today, so enjoy it, I guess. But Novak Djokovic, who decided he was going to throw a party with no masks and, be a crazy
shit, I forgot all about that. Okay, fuck him.
Basically, until now, right, it was sort of Federer, the older guy, Nadal, the slightly younger guy, right, and this Djokovic guy off to the side, right? And, I didn't really, I knew a little bit about their personalities and who they were, but, not that much. I didn't really care either. But basically, over the past few months, Djokovic has revealed himself to be the shithead. Yep.
Of the bunch, I just didn't connect that they were both him.
Yeah, no, it's that guy. So, he was trying to catch up to Federer and Nadal in terms of, major tennis tournaments won. And he could have won this one probably easily because they're not there, right? It was a shoo-in. And he goes, he's got a little temper tantrum or whatever. He's mad about something, so he smacks the tennis ball. And not only does he smack it in anger, which is already not great, he smacks it, happens to hit someone in the head, right? The person who stands in the back.
In the throat.
Yeah, collecting the balls, right? And the rules of tennis are, if you do that, you're defaulted, which basically means kicked out of the whole tournament, but not just kicked out of the whole tournament. You lose all your prize money, and there might still be, it doesn't cancel out the fact that you still might get fined, and you don't get any points, because remember, tennis has a global point system, right? Yeah. So if you go play tennis at your local tennis club, you get ranked on the same point ranking system as Novak Djokovic is.
Yep,
right?
Which is cool, because actually...
he's number 1, and I'm number 30 billion.
What's cool is that's actually how a lot of esports work, too. You play Overwatch, you're ranked with, the pros have their own ranks. They're just in the game like everyone else.
Most individual sports do this, right? So but the tennis one is really kind of fun. Anyway, so he's getting no points, which obviously is going to help the people who's still playing catch up to him. Also, someone's going to win who's not one of those 3 people, which hasn't happened in a long time. I think did Andy Murray win at Wimbledon maybe once, I think? And that was sort of the last time, maybe? I don't remember. I'm not that into the tennis. I'm only a little bit into the tennis. Anyway, but the point I want to bring up here is not only is Djokovic on the shit list, he's been on there for a while, but now he's really deep in the shit list, and this is probably going to be define his career and the public perception of him forever as bad guy, which is fine, deserved. Is that I want to reiterate the point that look at sports enforcing their rules. Why can't the society enforce its rules properly, and as the same way sports do?
Yep. Or why can't esports even do this?
Right. It's we see all the time people committing white-collar crimes, cops committing crimes, esports people
but
cheating.
The answer's real simple, because the people in charge with power in the tennis world actually care about the appearance of things like fairness and good sportsmanship.
Sure. Yeah, but the point is, we need to set up this kind of situation, right, where rules are enforced, right? Exactly.
But rules are also just. That's the key.
Yes.
Just and enforced.
Sure. Regardless, where rules are enforced properly, right? And here you have, clearly, right? Oh, the number 1 guy. Sorry, the rule is the rule. You're out.
It's interesting because in this case, it was a little bit of bad luck in the sense that you see a lot of sports feel like they throw their glove down in a little bit of frustration, or they throw their stick down.
Don't do that.
Yep. But that's not usually a finable offense by itself. But he went through this extra step of like pulled a ball out and just spiked it randomly, basically.
Yeah. You can also, if you want to see this, there's a lot of sexist and racist angles on this. If you look at the news articles from when, all the time Serena Williams would get angry at tennis, right? And people would write news articles like, "Oh, she's so angry. Look at this, angry Serena Williams."
Yeah, but then this guy has like a little temper tantrum.
Look at this. Yeah, a lot of people are like, "Oh, it was an accident." Oh, it's like, really,
Yep.
Anyway, little inequality in the treatment by the sports journalist world on this.
In terms of like, even though he probably didn't intend to hit the linesman, but it's like in hockey with high sticking. If your stick gets high, sure. If it happens to hit someone, no matter what your intent was, the risk you took by having your stick that high is that you might.
A dangerous situation, intentional or not, right?
Yep,
We're
exactly.
Punish you.
And that's why hockey punishes high sticking so severely.
We can't tell why you did something. We can only punish actions. We cannot adjudicate intent.
Yep.
Intent should have nothing to do with it.
So that's just like why the delay of game penalty happens, and it's always frustrating, but there's a reason that happens.
Right. So I also just want to add in the second part, which is that the penalty for cheating, this wasn't cheating, right?
Yeah.
But the penalty for pretty much anything that you want to actually, have, influence people's behavior always needs to be losing. You can't have a penalty short of losing. I've talked about this before, right? Where like the Patriots cheat at football and the penalty is some fines or some draft picks and then they win the Super Bowl.
Because that means that's not cheating. That's part of the game.
Right. That is basically pay to win, right? If you just fined him for this, right, then you'd basically that would be the equivalent of saying if you hit one of the ball people, right, in anger, and you have to pay a fine, and that's the only penalty, that's the exact same thing as saying, feel free to hit the ball people. It only costs this much to do so. Right?
Yep, I guess the only difference here is that you gain nothing by doing so. But deflating some footballs, or stealing some signals, you gain something.
The point is, the penalty for breaking the rules in pretty much anything needs to be losing. There cannot be another. You can add on other penalties if you want, but to not have losing be the penalty is what creates room for corruption. It's like, oh, yeah, I did all these money crimes, and look at me, I'm still in office, right? Oh, look at me, my company polluted the river, I'm still the CEO, right? It's like, no, the penalty needs to be losing, right? There's no other penalty that works, right? Doesn't need to be jail.
Overwatch handles that pretty well. Not like the pro level, they mostly handle it, but at the like regular old play, like people lose their accounts for doing things like quitting competitive matches.
Right. It's anyway. So there you go.
Yep,
another great example of the penalty being losing, and it actually works. Right.
So light news, because it was just announced and people are going crazy about it. We're all waiting for Breath of the Wild 2, but in the interim, we're getting another Hyrule Warriors game, Age of Calamity.
Yeah, so there was already a Hyrule Warriors game that came out, and it was basically what everyone expected.
It was Dynasty Warriors, yep.
Only it looks like Zelda, and now they're saying, well, that game did well enough, let's do another one, and this time we'll mix in some Breath of the Wild characters, because everyone loves a sexy shark man, right?
Yep.
So let's do the same thing again, only mix in some Breath of the Wild, and we'll sell more copies, and I think that'll probably work out just fine for them.
I think it will, because that game was crazy popular as the percentage. I was looking up these numbers a while ago. The percentage of sales of that game compared to like number of Wii U's sold was weirdly high.
Yeah, I'm actually liking this trend that Nintendo's going on here. They realize that sort of like, okay, Mario is their big property, right? And they've always done tons of Mario games, Mario Karts, Mario Party,
yep.
Mario RPGs. They got Paper Marios, they got regular Marios, they got 3D Mario. They got so many Marios, right? They covered every base with the Mario. Zelda is also the second huge property for Nintendo. I guess Pokemon is also, right? But
only recently have they started like letting more Zelda games happen.
Exactly. The Pokemon, they make all kinds of Pokemon games, right? They got their Pokemon Snaps and your Pokemon Pinballs.
Pokemon Go.
Right, yeah, so many Pokemon games, right? Not just the main ones. They also got the main ones, though, obviously. Zelda, despite it being one of their top properties, they have not made lots and lots of Zelda games. They made relatively few. They're the main Zelda games, and there were a few here and there,
I still think part of that was because they got burned so bad on those CDI games.
I don't know if they still remember that.
I think that for at least a time influenced them. But, like you said, we're way past that. But I knew this change was happening when Cadence of Hyrule came out. That is a game I would have never have expected to exist.
Yep. So for the Cadence of Hyrule, the Hyrule Warriors, now we got a second Hyrule Warriors. I think you're going to be seeing now going forward, we can expect probably maybe annually, I would assume at minimum, a Zelda game that is not a main Zelda game, but is simply a game that features, Link, Zelda, Ganon, Hyrule.
It's good timing too, because everyone like Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be nuts, but it's a ways out.
Flute. Ocarina.
Red potion. Blue potion.
Yeah. all the Zelda bow and arrow. Boomerang. Bomb. Those are the characters in Zelda. I can't.
So you're thinking old man, old woman?
I said old man.
Yeah. Dodongo.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like smoke, you know that. Everyone knows
that. But I'm not going to play this game because I've played Dynasty Warriors games. I know they're not for me. Like, I do not enjoy that kind of game at all. But I think this game is very well timed because everyone is so hungry for more Zelda. And Breath of the Wild 2 is a ways out. Like, we don't even know anything about Breath of the Wild 2. It's not coming out this year.
No, it's just rumor at this point, right?
Yeah.
Metroid Prime 4 is less of a rumor, but that got basically, they didn't like where the direction they were going and they restarted the whole thing. So that's going to be super delayed. So.
Yeah. So, all right. So you want to talk about this 8BitDo controller?
Oh, yeah, just briefly. So, we talked about 8BitDo a while ago, right? And, they're a company that's making controllers for almost every platform.
I got two of their SNES like ones for the Switch, and they're just great.
Yeah, they're making really good controllers that work with everything. And they finally went and did something they hadn't done before, which is to make a fight stick. It's basically a lot like, the old NES, Advantage kind of deal, right? You can play some Street Fighter with this. You can play some, any old arcade game with this. I think it works with a Switch or a PC. It doesn't work with a PlayStation or an Xbox, I don't think. It's highly customizable. If you don't like their buttons or their stick, you can replace those parts very easily. I think that's pretty much par for the course for fight sticks these days.
Yeah. I mean, even my ancient fight stick, I can swap out the gate if nothing else.
Yeah. So, this is pretty nice looking. If I didn't already have a fight stick, I might get this one. It looks smaller than the one I have and better. So yeah, if you don't already have a fighting stick type controller and if you ever play a fighting game or an arcade game, something like, I don't know, what's an arcade game that's not a fighting game where you have a stick?
Good arcade game that's not a fighting game. Initial D is driving game.
I mean, Dig Dug. Pac-Man. I don't know. Whatever.
Because my fight stick, there's no way to plug my existing fight stick into my Switch.
Yeah, I guess the fight sticks we have work with everything but Switch.
Yep.
Anyway, but there you go. This is looking pretty good. Just want to let people know it's out there. Have fun with it, maybe.
All right. I'll get into things of the day. Oh, where'd the tweet go? Where'd that tweet go?
Someone deleted it.
And so,
I'll find it in a second. I'll do this bit. Because I found the tweet for Rebecca Heinemann. I can just link to the Wikipedia page because that tells more fun stuff. All right. So yeah, things of the day. So there was a tweet going around, pretty good tweet, about Rebecca Heinemann. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. But she was known, among other things, for being basically the first person in America to ever win a national or like major esports tournament. Like this
I was not aware of like a specific, like I knew that like, back in the day they had like arcade game competitions, right? Space Invaders, especially, I'm sure Dig Dugs and all those other games, Asteroids, right? there were competitions for those games back in the day, but none of them were like named events that were remembered in history, where people remembered who won, right? They were like, local arcade kind of deals, right? When arcades were huge and I was very small and couldn't even reach the joystick yet, right?
Yeah.
Until the Nintendo World Championship, there wasn't like a known esport event in history, I don't think. But apparently there were, and they're just not remembered.
Yep. But this one was a big one. It was a national tournament with like regional staging tournaments. And Rebecca Heinman.
What year was this?
1980?
Okay, so I wasn't even alive.
So she went to LA to compete in the regional tournament for Space Invaders and didn't expect to win, like didn't think she was that good. And she won, and then she went on to the national championship in New York and also won. So she's considered to be the first national video game tournament champion ever.
I cannot beat 2 levels in original Space Invaders. I've tried.
Yep. So the tweet was going around because she is a trans woman, and her career is also pretty cool. So I actually want to link to that because she got her start with an Atari 2600, and she was pirating 2600 cartridges.
Nice.
She was like dumping the ROMs and making her own 2600 cartridges.
Or had one cartridge and was like flashing it.
She was doing stuff like that. And from there, learned enough about Atari 2600 code and reverse engineered enough to start like trying to make games with Avalon Hill. And it was just, there's an amazing story here following this woman throughout her career. So
very nice.
I enjoyed reading this Wikipedia article, and she has a big hand in a lot of games that you may have played over the years. So what do you got?
Okay. So apparently, I can't give too much information about this because I'm doing a Google Translate of an article in Finnish with 2 pictures to look at, right? But basically, it appears that the National Museum in Finland has loaned some super old board games to a game museum. Oh, the National Library in Finland loaned some super old board games to a game museum in Finland to put on display. And these are games from like the board game Nordenskjöld, sorry Finnish people, Northeast Passage, published in 1879.
Whoa.
Right? Dealing with the most famous excursion of the Finnish explorer Nordenskjöld, right?
I'm looking at the screenshot of this World War I game.
Right, exactly. So apparently, not only have they put these ridiculously old games on display, but there's some lessons to be learned here that apparently in that area of the world, right, they're talking about how, people made board games like about current events at the time. This wasn't like when we make a war game about Napoleon in the year 2020 and we're making a board game about Napoleon in 17 who knows what, right? This is someone, making a game about sort of like a current-ish event, right? So that still happens today. People make board games about like current history a little bit, right? But that was like a thing then, and just to have such crazy old board games on display. If anyone's in Finland, I assume it's a much safer place than here. I assume it's safe to go to museums there, wearing masks and whatnot. You need to check this out. And if you can translate Finnish, provide a better translation of this article than Google Translate does, so we can learn more about it, because this seems really fascinating.
This looks pretty good.
Even, it's like I've seen, various, there's like a lot of exhibits in the US with like old games. I've seen quite a few, and they're usually only showing you like, oh, here's a super old original Monopoly, here's a super old Scrabble, and it's like, I'm not learning anything.
Show me this Finnish game from 1918.
Yeah, exactly. So good stuff.
So in the meta moment, we were live at the Crunchyroll Expo with Judge Anime by its cover, and there was actually a pretty big crowd in there. Like, it was a pretty good event. I was very happy.
Crunchyroll Expo, we've talked about how the online cons are, right? How we perceive them to be. Crunchyroll Expo, it's like, they showed our panel. It was our recorded video. They played it. People chatted while they watched it.
Yep.
And,
So
people were chatting during I watched the previous panel, which was a mecha history panel. People were watching that one too.
Yep. I hung around during the break before the next panel and kept answering questions for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough though, because one kid who obviously was pretty new to anime and was excited and had only seen like recent anime was asking like, "Oh, you guys seem to know a lot about anime. Like, what shows should I watch?" And it felt real good to give like a young kid who doesn't know about like, oh yeah, Evangelion, Cowboy Bebop, like give him like this baseline recommendations. But it was very tempting. I restrained myself. I did not recommend terrible anime as much as I kind of wanted to. I wanted to stick at least.
Anyone should see.
Yeah, I wrote Doji, Apocalypse Zero. That's a good show.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks like they had during the convention, if you were online, it's over now. All of the videos, as soon as after they played, were available as VODs. So you could go back and watch them, which I think sucks for people who had, like our friends who had their panel towards the end of the con. It was only available online for a very brief time, and then it was gone.
Yep.
Right?
It's not clear if they're going to be available at any point in the future from the con, but we're probably going to publish ours on our own YouTube so you can watch it.
Yeah, they can't really stop us. So if they do not put up our video later, we will edit and upload our own video just because why not?
Yep. I didn't use an overlay or anything, so I could just use the exact version I put up.
Yep. So it looks like PAX Online is coming very, very soon. What, like a week?
Yeah, and on Friday, September 18th, our brand new panel that no one has seen before except me and Scott and a handful of industry people, Where is the Finish Line?
PAX Online starts on Saturday the 12th, which is this Saturday, and it's going to end on friggin' Sunday the 20th, I think, right?
It's long. It's 9 days.
Also, Saturday the 19th, at the same time as PAX Online is getting close to the end, is going to be the GDOC Expo Online, right? So you're getting over the next 2 weekends, you are going to be up to your eyes in online gaming convention.
And then stay tuned for the future. There is going to be an online virtual Super MAGFest. Like not MAGFest, MAGWest. They're like a mini online version. And we're going to do a like rapid fire 25-minute long version of our Play Dirty to Win / How to Win type panel. So we're going to do a like focused distilled version of that I'm still working out the details on.
Exciting.
That'll actually be pretty fun. And otherwise, like, stay tuned to our stuff. Like, follow us on YouTube, join our Discord. We're both streaming games, playing stuff, poking around. We're kind of talking to people more just because, we're stuck inside. Normally, we talk to you.
I've been doing the Zwift thing, which is where you bike to nowhere, and there's a little virtual world you're biking in to keep your attention and to help follow a training program of some kind.
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting, I don't need Twitch viewers, right? I'm not trying to do a Twitch thing. I don't give a shit about that, right? But, it's way easier to bike if there's just one person in the chat room. Just one person. Just one penny, right? So if you want to talk to me about literally anything, like yesterday someone was talking to me about like MOBAs or something, right? Anything you want to talk to me about, just follow me on the Twitch. And then when I'm biking, which I'll probably do after this show, right? Just chat with me in that chat box. I'll probably be biking for like an hour at a time, maybe. Just chat with me about whatever. And just don't say something awful that means I have to get off my bicycle and ban you. Just keep it chill, right?
All right, so let's get right into it.
The book club book is The Tale of Genji. I have not read it still.
So I feel like when I'm going to start reading books again, because I'm not reading books. I'm too busy with this convention shit. Like, I'm too busy with Geek Nights. It takes a lot more to do what we do when we can't do it in person. It's actually taking a lot of my time to organize this shit. Also, we're working on some shit we can't talk about yet. So there's a lot going on. But I'm trying to, restart that Utena show that I keep trying to restart. Literally, I was ready to record an episode with Scott, and then COVID happened. So now we have our new pipeline, but it's been so long I got to watch the episode again. Like, there's stuff in the way. So reading really took a back burner. And when I'm reading nonfiction right now. I'm reading electoral theory and documents and procedures and things.
Okay, so main bit. Here's the deal, right? Over last week or so, I saw these people talking about a thing called Logitech Playmaster, the same Logitech that makes the mice and the keyboards and the webcams, right? And what this is a beta program. And the idea behind this program is that you install it and you in the Steam Workshop, and it adds to your copy of Counter-Strike Go. You have to own a copy, right?
Yep.
It adds to your copy some maps and some other stuff, right, from the Steam Workshop. And then you would go to the Playmaster beta website. When it's running, it's down now, and it's been down before.
Yep, I can talk about my scores only because I happened to post a screenshot of when I tried it out.
Yep, exactly. And what it does is something. I think this isn't the first attempt at this, but I think it's the first like big time attempt at it, to where it is a program that is designed to train you to be better at Counter-Strike Go, right? It's like it's testing you to see how good you are at it, and then providing like specific practice, right?
Now, things like this
at
have existed before, but they're usually either bespoke or they exist like inside of esports teams or among professionals with fiddly setups. I have not seen one that was big enough like this, that was just like mass market, like anyone can just use it. You don't need like to do a bunch of fuckery. It did just work like when the website was up. Like I clicked on a website a bunch and then it launched Steam and put me into the map with the bot and told me exactly what to do. It was actually really, really easy.
Yeah, when the servers are up, it does work really well.
And like I used to play seriously, but not like super seriously, like in middle school, high school, like playing online with people, with clans. But we'd have practices. Like training is different from playing. But without tools, setting up training in a esport, especially like an FPS esport where there's teams, is really hard to do. You need you can't just have your team. You need another team to play against. You need like coaches to watch and tell you what to do and come up with drills. You need someone whose job is like run across this field over and over again while the team tries to kill you, like that kind of crap.
So the TLDR on this thing, if anyone wants to turn off now, is that we've had coaching available for a long time if you're willing to pay for it. There are people out there who are willing to coach people at various competitive games, especially PC multiplayer competitive games.
I was thinking about trying out a digital coach for Overwatch for my tanking, like specifically.
Like a human?
Yeah, human. I was thinking about paying a human to do some like once-a-week sessions with me on my tanking.
There are people who have offered that service. But the thing is, until more recently, even those services that provided coaches, they could not provide the gymnasium, right? So it's like, okay, I hired a coach and here we are with no equipment and no gym, right? So the way I see this Playmaster thing, and we're going to go into detail on it, is just, I think this is a gymnasium that it desperately needs a coach. It does not have the coaching.
I find it does have the coaching in the sense that
it is a very small amount. Like they're going to add it, or they're going to add more of it, but as of right now, it's mostly gym.
But what I found was I did it, and then I did all the challenges one more time, and just by doing the challenges, I got way better at them.
Of course, that happens. So that's a general thing for most people, right?
Yeah.
Is that like you didn't need a coach to no one coached me on Mega Man 2 when I was a kid, right? I just played Mega Man 2 a bunch, and I was able to figure things out.
But to your point, what it didn't do, like the spraying one, which I'm fucking garbage at, we'll get into like what I'm talking about. Fuck that. I am so bad at that. It's hilarious. But that's the one where I don't know what to do differently.
Right.
And the game doesn't tell me, and everything I do just makes my score worse.
There are some activities in the world that a human, when trying to get better at, right, can sort of figure out just by doing something a lot, trying different things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, trial and error, getting constructive feedback from the activity itself, getting intuitive, right? It's like, something like biking. It's like, oh, I fall over. It's like, I guess that's not how to do it.
Yep.
Right?
Or even mountain biking, like, oh, I fall over on these curves. Oh, well, the curve's banked. What if I go up on the curve? Oh, okay, like it's pretty intuitive when you look at it.
Yeah, where some, and different people have different abilities to figure out. Some people can't intuitively figure out anything, ever, right? And some people can intuitively figure out things that would not be intuitive to almost anyone else, that you would absolutely need someone to tell you. But somehow that genius person, just figured it out, right?
Like, have you ever done martial arts? And it's very rare to find someone who can instruct you in move exactly like this, do like these exact motions to teach you how to do something, versus starting to internalize like a physicality of it. They're different skills and different learning methods.
Right, like martial arts is a great example, right? It's like if you go take lessons in a martial art, right? They show you what to do. right? And even if you watch videos of other people doing it, you can try to mimic them, right? Imagine trying to learn a martial art just standing there with no one, just your body. You don't need anything else but your body to learn a martial art, right? Or imagine even if I hand you some nunchucks and it's like, go ahead, learn to use the nunchucks, right? Would you ever figure out a good way to use them?
I convinced my parents to get, my brother and I both got practice nunchucks as kids. Those were the sole use of nunchucks is to hit yourself in the face and then the dick.
And you probably at least, when you had those as kids, you at least had access to videos of Michelangelo using his nunchucks.
Oh yeah, and I tried to do what Michelangelo did. I hit myself right in the dick immediately.
Of course, but you could never figure it out from nothing.
Like you think I'm joking? Like, oh, it's funny to say. No, I hit myself right in the dick and fell over and almost passed out.
And nunchucks who's never held nunchucks before and say, figure out how to use these. Even if you tell them that they're a weapon and they figure that much out, it's like only a Bruce Lee kind of character would.
And that is because for various reasons, some things are not intuitive to humans who don't have specialized training. And there's even counterintuitive things that feel like, oh, it makes sense to do this. Like there's certain ways to ski. If you've never skied, you get in some skis, you might think, oh, I could make a V shape or turn to my side to stop. But if you don't actually know what you're doing, those things don't work. Like the intuitive answer is the wrong answer. When I was a kid,
until 5th grade, whenever I made a fist, I put my thumb inside my fist.
Oh.
And then not until I had a karate lesson, they were like, take your thumb out of your fist. And I was like, what? I didn't understand what the hell they were saying. And then eventually I figured it out, right? I was like, oh, that's what they're saying. I get it now.
My moment was as a kid, I learned kid taekwondo.
Also, even after I understood what they were saying, my muscle memory, I kept making the wrong fist for weeks.
When I was a kid learning taekwondo, they taught me to make a fist kind of the right way, but they focused on the punching. But when I took kung fu, the first day, the teacher's like, the fuck are you doing with your fist? Because they didn't actually teach me how to make a correct fist. It was the little kid. They taught me to make a good enough fist. They didn't teach me the technique to make the fist in the first place.
Right. So anyway, here we have Logitech Playmaster. So the way this thing works is there are how many different challenges in it?
I can pull up a screenshot. It's down right now, but I have a screenshot of my own thing.
I also have screenshots. Okay,
so they have these named skills, and they are, if you played Counter-Strike even a little, most of these you'll understand what they are.
There's 8 challenges.
Hold, track, aim, peek, spray, jump, perceive, flick.
Okay, so you go into the application, and it puts you on these pre-constructed Counter-Strike maps. And what you do is you perform this baseline skills test where for each skill, there's a different map with a different scenario, and it tests your skill in that category.
The design of this is great.
All right. And then when it's done, right, you then have the option to warm up or practice rookie, advanced, or, expert level testing on those skills. So 8 skills times 3 difficulties. So 24 different challenges you can practice at. And then you can go back to do the baseline after you do the practice modes to try to improve your skills. You would then go back to that baseline test, redo it, and then reevaluate how much you've improved, right? So it's giving you tools, a gymnasium in which to practice your Counter-Strike skills and also evaluate whether you're getting better at Counter-Strike in some sort of, objective-ish way, right? Because if you just evaluate how good you are at Counter-Strike by playing Counter-Strike, it's like, well, if you happen to be up against pros all the time, it's like you're going to die, you're going to die. You
playing
can't
against bots or scrubs.
Right.
On a good team, on a bad team.
Yeah, you can't necessarily tell if you're really getting better. Like, is my aim better? Am I moving better? Am I, right?
Or
you don't
also,
know.
More importantly, you'll die, but you don't understand what mistake you made. Like, why did I lose this encounter with this other player in this room? What happened there? But I look at this and it's like, oh, because I can't spray for shit, nor am I that good at peeking. That's my problem.
Okay. So let's talk about the 8 different tests. Let's talk about let's start with track, I guess.
All right, so I'm actually ranked way better than the community. This is the one I was actually legit good at.
Yeah. So the tracking test, the way it works is you are basically stuck in one spot, right?
Yep.
You can't move very much at all. You can't shoot either. You have a gun and a crosshair, and there's a bad guy, terrorist, and there's a big open field, and the terrorist runs around the field, and you have to do is basically keep your cursor, your crosshair, on the terrorist.
Yep.
Right?
Ideally on the head, but
he comes
anywhere is
closer.
worth something.
Right, he comes closer, he goes farther, he goes left, he goes right.
He tricks
jumps.
you out a little bit, like he'll duck a little bit, he'll jump a little bit.
He crouches, he goes left and right, he goes all over the place, and you just got to keep your crosshair on him for the whole time, and that's the test, right? So obviously, if you can do this well, you're going to be good at Counter-Strike, because people who are running all around all over the place are not going to be able to escape your bullets, right? So if you practice doing this, you don't really necessarily, need too much coaching. Like, you could just intuitively do this, right? And, try to adjust things, adjust your mouse sensitivity, move your mouse differently, try to figure it out and get better at this just by doing it.
Yep.
And that will translate into better Counter-Strike play and probably better FPS play overall. So this is a good test. The thing I think the test could use is, again, like I said before, it would be nice. The game, it basically gives you no explicit advice on how to be better at it. Right? So it's like, there's some things, it's like, okay, the guy jumps. I basically always lost the guy when he jumped.
Yep. I could weirdly predict that they were about to jump pretty accurately and keep it on the head.
But it's like, okay, well, when a guy jumps, what should I, how do I know he's going to do it? And what kind of movement should I make to keep on the guy? Right? It's like, or like, tell me if my mouse sensitivity is too high or too low. I didn't experiment with it, but there's no reason the app should actually be, it should be possible to write software that would detect, this person's mouse is going all over the place. Maybe their sensitivity is too high.
Yeah, I'll bet something like that is coming. I did try the advanced training, and the guy runs around way faster, and there's textures, so he can walk up and down ramps and stuff too.
Yep. So that's the tracking test.
Now, that's also the one that was the most transferable, because I found it personally interesting that's the one I was actually way good at. But that's the skill that is universal to almost all first-person shooters with a mouse and keyboard.
Yep.
Like track ahead, track an object. That's what I need in Overwatch for the kinds of characters I play.
Obviously, there are some that are going to be faster or slower than others, right? It's like a fast FPS tracking is quite different from a slow one.
Yep. Also leading versus not leading, hit scan and all that.
Depending on how the bullets work, right? Yeah.
Yep. This is a tracking hit scan.
In Counter-Strike, you want to keep your crosshair on the bad guy.
Yep.
Pretty much, right? Okay, so you're talking about the aiming test?
Yeah.
The most boring test?
I like the aiming test.
I mean, it was fine, but it's like, it's an FPS game. Here's the aiming test. It's sort of like the most straightforward.
I was nearly as good as the community on that one.
So how does the aiming test go?
I'm trying to remember, because the flick one is the sniping one, and the hold one is the other sniping one, and the peek one is you go around the corners, and there's guys standing there. Oh, right. Guys just appear around you.
Yeah, it's basically Hogan's Alley. It's Hogan's Alley. So I did pretty good at this, because the guys aren't shooting me. So they appear.
In advanced mode, they shoot at you if you take too long.
Oh, okay. I didn't do that. But yeah, guys appear, and I click on their head. So I was doing pretty great at that. It's like, oh, there's a guy. Click on his head. There's a guy. Click on his head.
Seems to test a synthesis of reaction time to a stimulus and tracking over to it to then fire.
Yep. So the good thing here is this test is it's a Hogan's Alley for Counter-Strike. You can practice with this also pretty well. And I don't think it necessarily needs coaching so much, right?
This is what's funny is this is the training I actually do for Overwatch. I go in, there's a training room, like Overwatch comes with a gymnasium where there's bots of different kinds doing different looping behaviors, and you can go to different areas of this map to practice whatever thing you want to practice.
I mean, Street Fighter and Smash Brothers have training mode, but it doesn't teach you shit. It's
exactly.
just like, here's a sandbox, do whatever you want.
It's more like a parkour gymnasium where they assume you know what you're doing, like a rock climbing gym. We assume you know what you're doing. Here.
Yeah, it doesn't teach you anything. It doesn't measure anything.
But I'll go in there to warm up and literally pick a hit scan character, go to an area of the map, and just 1, 2, 3, go, open my eyes and try to headshot as many guys as I can in one go. It's a drill I do.
Yep.
And this is a really good drill exercise.
Yeah. So what I learned from the aiming test, which I was about slightly under community skill level at, is that my main problem isn't that I'm bad at aiming. I'm actually quite good at aiming. I'm just really slow. So if you look at my numbers, assuming that it wasn't bugged or something, right? My headshots and accuracy was actually through the roof.
I was very similar, high accuracy, but it took me 1.1 seconds to actually get over there.
I was at pro level accuracy, assuming that this is correct, right? Me hits on target 80%, 88 out of 110 shots on target. It says that professionals only have 60% and the community is 56. I don't know if that data is right, but that's crazy that I'm 80% accurate and pros are 60, right? The problem is, if you look, it also reports on time to shoot. So how long until I fire the first bullet between when the bad guy appeared and when I click the mouse.
And the pros are what, like 0.67 seconds or something?
So hold on. The time until my first bullet hits the enemy and the time until the enemy is dead. So it took me, my time to shoot is 1.16 seconds. So about a second, I start shooting and the bad guy dies at 1.75 seconds, 7.4, right? Pros, their time to frag is 1.06. A professional player with 60% accuracy. So they're not aiming as accurately as I am. I'm getting 80% hits, right? But they, with those 60% of bullets hitting, they are killing me before I fire my first shot, and that is my Counter-Strike life, right, in a nutshell.
And even if they don't kill you, getting hit disrupts you a little bit and slows you down.
And totally means I'm not going to get my bullets off, basically. Yep. Right? So that matched, that data, true or not, matched my experience playing Counter-Strike my whole life, is that I'm just too slow. I don't shoot. I'm dead before I shoot.
Yep. So Peak, the next one, was really interesting because this is a skill that I know I'm bad at, and I tried to practice, and then I just didn't give a shit anymore because it's highly Counter-Strike, PUBG, like Valorant specific. Like this is not a thing in most games.
PUBG actually has leaning, right? So Counter-Strike doesn't. So
yep. But it does test when you enter a space, either through a door, around a corner, like a breach. This is a real world tactic too. What are the places a head is likely to be? And you have those mapped in your own mind so that you can very quickly shoot where an enemy appears without exposing yourself more than you need to. And ideally, pre-shoot where the place that they're most likely to be.
So the way this test works is you stand behind a wall, and the wall, you're basically right up against it, just like facing a wall. You can't see anything except these two arrows. And either the left arrow lights up or the right arrow lights up. And it's telling you strafe left or strafe right, because that's where the bad guy's going to be.
Yep.
So you wait for the arrow to light up, you strafe in the direction indicated.
And the guy might be high or low, like anywhere in this room.
And when you strafe, as soon as you go around the corner and you hit the edge of the wall, there's going to be a bad guy somewhere out in the playing field, and you have to shoot them. Right.
And it's kill them as fast as possible. That's the goal.
So this is to practice in Counter-Strike because, you're playing Counter-Strike. You think there's a bad guy around the corner and you're going to strafe out there and you need to shoot them before they shoot you. Right. That's basically the game of Counter-Strike. Right. Is strafe around the corner and try to kill them first.
Yep.
Right. So this is letting you practice that exact thing. Strafe around the corner, shoot the guy.
And this one actually did tell me what I was doing wrong. Again. This one gives you more stats because the thing that I thought was neat is it gives me like time to my first bullet and like time to kill, but also time to counter strafe. And that was key because it made me realize right away that my main problem is that I pre-shoot and I'll actually start hitting them pretty well, but I don't counter strafe quick enough, so I expose myself a lot. Like I expose myself way more than I need to.
Yep. All right, so the next test is the spraying test.
100% Counter-Strike specific. This is like, do you want to be a pro at Counter-Strike? Otherwise, you don't care about this one.
Yeah, pretty much. So the thing with the spraying test is
I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
I didn't understand it at first.
Yeah, because I never hold the button down for an entire clip.
Why would I ever hold the mouse button down and not let go of it and just spray like a wild person, right? It's like I was like, burst firing on the guy and the test wouldn't continue.
I did the same thing. I didn't get it at first.
What is going on here? I don't understand. I don't know if that caused the test to be the data to be incorrect.
No, because I did it over and over and over again afterward, and my scores just got worse and worse and worse.
So what it wants you to do is hold the mouse button down without letting go and burst and spray your whole clip into this enemy who's moving around a little bit, right? And get as many of the bullets to go into the enemy as possible while you're just spraying and praying. And I'm like, first of all, who does that? Why are you encouraging that behavior?
So when I watch competitive, usually that happens at relatively close range when there's a big firefight and you're just trying to take someone out and move on. I see it happen. It's a skill that Counter-Strike people talk about, but the spray pattern is different for every gun.
Sure. And then so it's about moving. You're basically the recoil forces your bullets to mostly go up. So you're trying to sort of pull your mouse down while you're holding the mouse button down to try to keep the bullets going into their body, even though by the end of it you're aiming at like their feet, right? So just doing the test in the baseline test didn't help you at all understand what they wanted to do.
I got like a 4 out of 20 on that one. Like I was just like,
I got an awful score. However, if you go into the practice mode outside of the baseline test, it's a little bit different. They give you a little bit of coaching in that when you're firing and spraying, these little green and red dots appear. And those green and red dots are sort of showing you. It's not entirely clear what they're showing you.
I figured it out by going to a third-party resource.
Oh, it feels like what they're. My guess is that they're basically saying, "Hey, if your cursor had been aiming at this green dot, then that bullet that went way off into the distance would have hit the enemy."
So here's the deal: when you look at your skill, it shows that line pattern. You have to, for each gun, memorize the pattern, and the longer you hold down the button, you don't necessarily hold it down the whole time. You have to memorize where to move your mouse on the pattern. Every gun has a different pattern. So you basically just follow that line over time while you're holding the thing down.
Yeah, see, if you look at my line, it basically starts at the head, it goes down and to the right, then big left.
No,
and
that's
then
not
down.
your line. That's the perfect line you're trying to mimic with your mouse.
Oh.
That's the line for that gun.
So for that gun, I want to go down
a little bit to the right, then way to the left.
And then make them dance like I'm the mafia with a Tommy gun.
Yep. And
Okay,
every gun has a different one. Like the Negev has like this ridiculous bullshit pattern to memorize that's really, really long and complicated.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'll link to this website that's explaining it. Good fucking God, do I not care about this.
All right, let's talk about the next bullshit test.
But I do want to say this is because Counter-Strike has a very specific skill that only matters for high-skill Counter-Strike play of memorizing these semi-random patterns for the guns. This is like...
the guns you actually use and don't use a lot of guns.
Yep. Actually, the pattern for the MAC-10 is pretty easy.
Yeah. So anyway, the next test is it's sort of a bullshit test, sort of not, right? So the jumping test. The jumping test is, I think, good in that the test that they have devised here, if you practice these, it is a really good thing to help you get better at jumping at Counter-Strike.
But that's the key, jumping at Counter-Strike and literally no other game.
I'm not blaming. I mean, this app is supposed to be helping you. We
can't blame it for teaching you Counter-Strike.
It's trying to teach you Counter-Strike. It's not trying to teach you every FPS, right? But what I think to blame here is just I blame Counter-Strike for having shitty jumping mechanics.
I think that the industry term for this is fucky.
Yeah.
Jumping in Counter-Strike is fucky.
So even in the most basic tests, I couldn't complete all the jumps. I think I did 3 of the jumps and then I failed all the rest.
Oh my God. Weirdly, you know the one I can do with no problem? Jump around the corner. So I'm just like, whoop, every time.
I cannot jump around the corner at all. I don't even know how to jump. And this is an example of where it's a really good practice environment, but it really needs coaching, right? It's like, some of the jumps do the kung fu jump where you're sort of jumping from a narrow stick to another narrow stick to another narrow stick, right? We're like in a kung fu movie.
So you know why I got good at
like
that?
Iron Monkey, where they're standing on the poles and they're fighting, right?
At RIT, I remember playing a lot of maps where they'd arm you with knives, and it was really just like everybody races through a weird platformer environment.
I love those obstacle course ones.
So I was actually good at all the ones that were jump on rails and jump on like things, but I wasn't good at the like weird high-speed jump patterns specific to Counter-Strike.
Exactly. So they have you do normal jump. They have you do jump and then crouch, right, to get onto a little slightly higher spot, right? Jump and crouch to get into a hole. Jumping onto the tiny, tiny platforms, at least that test is hard, obviously. I failed it every time. But you can understand how to do it, right? You can look at it and be like, aha, all right, I just have to jump really precisely, right, to land on exactly on that narrow spot. It's nothing, mysterious about it.
Ooh,
right?
The listener binds jump to mouse wheel down and crouch to spacebar to do this, so they can kind of bunny hop it.
Interesting. But the thing is, when it gets to the later jumps, right, jump around a corner, like around a 90-degree angle, it's like, I could not even, let alone, with enough practice, I could do the jumping onto the narrow platforms, right? I know how to do it. I just wasn't precise enough to do it. I cannot even conceive of how to jump around a 90-degree corner. I need instruction. Like, how is this done? Exactly what button do I press? When? I have no clue. I could never figure it out.
I was able to do it twice, but only twice, and I could not describe to you what I did.
I was able to get closer to it, but I had absolutely no clue how to jump around a 90-degree corner, and the app provided no instructions.
Interestingly, on this app, that's the thing the community is the best at.
Yeah, right?
Even though it probably only matters in highly situational things.
And what's interesting is that in a lot of other FPSs, when there's platforming sections, like Doom Eternal or in Half-Life 1, Half-Life 2, I'm actually pretty good at that, right? So this is like on another level beyond that.
Not to complain about Counter-Strike, but just in terms of this app, this is the kind of training tool that would be great for MOBAs and for other games that have non-intuitive things that you need to be good at to achieve high skill levels.
I agree, but you'd need to add that last element of instruction.
But imagine if you had this with instruction for how to do Street Fighter shit.
Oh man, I'd be good at Street. I'd be okay.
All right, we're gonna learn how to do Hadouken perfectly, and here's a training simulator to make this happen.
Exactly, and not just because Street Fighter again provides you with a gymnasium, the training room in Street Fighter 4 and newer versions has a training room, but it does not provide good enough or any instruction at all, pretty much that's meaningful, right?
So
anyway,
the perceive test was the coolest, and I was okay at it. I did way better when I tried it the second time because I thought we had to tell vertical and horizontal, and I couldn't because you can't.
I think it's only horizontal.
It is only horizontal, but I kept trying to aim up. So the first time I did like miserably. But the second time, I was pretty good. Like I was more than half the time, I would be exactly right. But like a third of the time, I would be like 20 degrees off.
Right. I did awfully at this, right? But I can't.
I did better than you. I did look at your score.
I'm not going to blame it on the headphones because I don't have enough evidence to tell whether I'm bad at it or whether it was the fact that I was just using, open ear stereo headphones.
I was also using open ear.
Right. Everything either sounded like it was coming from straight ahead, straight back, left or right. I could not tell any other directionality. And I remember back in the day when I played Counter-Strike, I had 4.1 surround sound.
I remember that.
And in those days, I was actually, I remember, pretty good at telling which direction bullet fire was coming from.
You were. That's not a lie. I remember that. You were better at that. You would pre-shoot me when we played sometimes.
So before taking this test, I was thinking, this is my test, the one I'm going to be good at, not like all these other ones I know I suck at, right? But I actually was garbage at it. So I don't want to blame the headphone because I want someone else to come and do the test with my setup when it's safe to do so. And then compare and be like, aha, it was the headphone, or no, I just suck. I'd also like to have me I could also, instead of doing that, I could retake the test with either a surround sound setup or surround sound headphones.
So I did retake this one, and what I noticed was once I realized I didn't have to aim vertical, like it was only horizontal, I did way better. Not great, like I'm way worse than the community, but I was better than you. But what I found was that my problem is that I'm actually really accurate, but I'm slow with this.
I'm slow with everything.
I'm slow with this, but my average error was 11 degrees, which was pretty good, but I was way too slow at getting there because I'd sweep back and forth while the sound was still happening to kind of zoom in on it.
I would also try to do that. I was moving the mouse and I would hear when it would switch from the right ear to the left ear and it'd be like, bam.
Yep.
Right.
But this was the coolest test, especially because when I'm doing the training, once I shoot, then it shows where the guy was, and every now and then I'd be like right on his head, and that felt so good.
When you're doing the baseline test, it plays a noise, you shoot into the darkness.
It gives you no feedback on how good you're doing.
And then it's like, okay, and it plays another noise, and you shoot into the darkness, and you're basically trying to shoot wherever the noise you believe was coming from. And then the actual training, it will, after you fire into the darkness, it will show you where the enemy actually was. And by seeing that and matching it up with what you just heard, you can gradually sort of get a feel for what sounds like which direction. And it forces you to recenter yourself after every test.
Which helps.
That's very interesting. Okay.
But yeah, I like that one a lot. So flick, I was bad at, even though I know I am good at flicking in other FPSs.
Yeah, spray, jump, and perceive I was garbage at. Yeah, I'm looking at my test. Okay,
Yep.
I'm making sure I was looking at someone else's results.
Yep.
Flick
Track,
is
aim, and
the
hold.
one-
Track and hold, I was better than the community.
Yeah, Flick is the only one I was better than the community at.
Which I was
and only
garbage
by
at.
a tiny, tiny bit.
Flick is that, like, head appears, do you move the mouse to it quickly and get it?
All right, the last two tests are sniping tests, right? So Flick is you're zoomed in, a head appears, click on it. A head appears, click on it, right? With an AWP, so you got one shot, and
Yep.
that's it. You can't, keep firing at it or anything.
With Flick, the problem was I'm just way too slow, but I think, honestly, my problem here is that I play so much Overwatch, and you can customize the mouse sensitivity per character. So I have a special mouse sensitivity just for the sniper characters.
So I think the reason I got a higher score on this, right, is that if you look again, my accuracy was 81% hits on target,
Ooh.
right? So, and the pros had 79%. So when it came to sniping, right, I was hitting all the guys, like a ton, like almost all of them. But my time to frag was 1.07 seconds. The community, the time it takes them to shoot is 0.78 seconds. So basically what that means is that I'm up, and the pros weren't actually that much faster than the community. They were only 0.6 seconds.
But they hit the head more often.
Sure, but the pros only had 0.2 seconds on the community. I'm 0.2 seconds slower than the community. So the gap in speed between pros and the community is the same for me. So what this means is that in an actual game of Counter-Strike, right, obviously you can't reload the one-shot sniper rifle in 0.2 seconds. But if I'm up against an average opponent, before I fire my bullet, they are going to fire their bullet, and they will have a 60% chance of killing me.
But if they don't kill you...
If they don't kill me, that means 40% of the time, I'm going to get to shoot. And in that 40% of the time that I get to shoot, I will kill them 80% of the time, right? So it's 40 times 0.8 is whatever percentage time I'm going to win. And that remaining percentage, we both reload, and then we would multiply again that remaining percentage by, so diminishing returns. So approximately 0.4 times 0.8% I'm going to win, even though I'm more accurate than professional players. Like I do
enjoy a sniper duel. But yeah, you would probably beat me in a sniper duel, because this is not, in Counter-Strike especially, I was not good at this. I don't think there's coaching, like training is necessary to get better at this, but I can't imagine coaching.
There's no information you need to do better at this, right? As
Except
long as your
maybe
good,
a coach might be able to tell you about alternate methods, because there's the sweep and click method, there's the flick and click, there's the change your bindings to where you click and then let go. Like there's different ways to approach this.
I had no method. All I did was wait for the guy to appear, move my mouse onto him, and click, and then click.
So when I snipe in real games, what I tend to do in like Overwatch sniping is I'll sweep my cursor around. Like I'll just be sweeping it around the area that I'm looking for people. And if I see a head, I don't try to flick to it. I continue my sweep pattern. And then when I'm approaching them, I flick toward their head at the last second. I can't do that in Counter-Strike. It's a totally different game. And also, I've always been a fucking garbage sniper in Counter-Strike. So this just confirmed
the final test, my worst one, I think.
Really?
Right?
This was my second best one.
I don't know. Actually, the game, if you look at the skill radar, it doesn't suggest that I'm that bad at this test. But if you look at the speed and percentage numbers, I think I'm awful at it, right? So this is the holding test. So this is very similar to the very first test, right? The difference is that you're sniping. So basically, there's a big field, and it tells you when bad guys are going to appear, and a guy comes out, runs around, and then hides again. And you're supposed to zoom in your sniper rifle to the correct zoom level and keep your crosshair on the guy while they're moving, and also kill them. Right?
Yep. It's very much a control this lane with your sniper rifle.
Right. So the sniper rifle flick test, you're shooting stationary targets. Like they pop up like sort of whack-a-mole, right? Like it pops up, shoot them. They're not moving. Here, a guy comes out. You know where he's coming from? It's like they'll signal like this wall. A guy is coming from behind this wall. Get ready. And a guy comes, and you got to shoot him while he's running around before he hides again. I hit 56% on
Oh.
target. I can't hit things that move.
I can hit like 90% of them, but I tend to hit them.
90%.
But I tend to hit them pretty late. I'm slow.
Hit them.
I'm real slow.
My time to shoot was 0.5 seconds. The community was 0.42, and the pros were half, 0.23.
I tried the advanced test on this, and I was able to hit like all but 2.
Yeah, I hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and I missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So,
but this is where coaching would help because there's different techniques here. Like my technique is more reliable in terms of hitting, but way slow and probably wouldn't work in a real game because I basically hold the cursor at a point and I know the guy's coming and I time and I wait. And when he's running, I never move the cursor. I hit click when I know it'll hit him. I don't move the cursor at all.
I did really awful at the tests that involved, keeping the cursor on something, the hold one and the other one, what's the first one.
And I did really bad at move the cursor to hit something or peek, like move a cursor to get something.
Fray, jump, and perceive. I did work really bad also. So
but I guess the thing that what this really, we've talked about this in our panels before, like in the Play Dirty Win panel, we also had the slides about it. The difference between playing, training, and coaching. This game is a training gym, which you need if you want to get better, like seriously better at games. Very few players, I think, have the discipline to try to train in a normal game. You need like an environment to set that up. Also, if you're training in a normal game with other people who aren't training, you're just a dick and you're probably making it not fun for them. Dog, I'm just trying to get headshots. I'm not trying to capture the flag.
Yeah, just, a lot of other sport activities have training programs that involve in-person coaching, and also you can just get like DVDs that like give you, you watch videos of like how to throw a baseball better or whatever, right?
But this is where you can train without coaching and you can be coached without training. I think the thing that this could teach a lot of Counter-Strike players, especially scrubs. Scrubs, if you're a scrub and if you're thinking, I'm not a scrub, everyone else is just better, you're probably a scrub. But anyway, scrubs tend to play and they mistake playing for training. They don't actually train, so they never get better. Very few people will get better from play alone.
All right, but for esports, right, training and especially coaching, but training also has been largely not a lot of it, not available or accessible to most players, right? It's like if you want to get better at Counter-Strike, it's like you can read some strategies, but it's like if you don't have like a community of players like helping you or something, it's like it's very, very difficult to get better because you just don't know how to get better. No one helps you. The game doesn't help you. The tutorials in games just get you up to speed on how to play, and then they're just like, okay, bye. Right? That's the end. Right? There's no advanced skills nothing that tries to, and even after a tutorial teaches you how to play, it doesn't, almost nothing teaches you how to play well, right? How do I do? All right, you taught me how to jump as Mario, push A. Can you tell me how to jump better? Right? How do I get better at jumping? I learned how to do it. Right? There's no such thing. So this is great in that it is, I think, it's not necessarily the first, but the same way that the iPhone was not the first smartphone, it's sort of like, the first real big attempt at not just FPS, but I think esports in general, of making a digital training practice gym program, right? For people to level up. It's not perfect. Like I said, it largely lacks the coaching aspect of telling you what you need to do to improve when the game itself is not enough. Right.
And even like the website I'll link to that's showing all these spray patterns, like it shows the exact spray patterns, explains everything, but there's no way to play and know if you're doing it right.
Exactly. Right. So this is providing a lot, not all the essential tools that are needed, but it's a long way there. It's in the right direction. It's still beta, so there's still a lot going on.
I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, this is really exciting. Even if you have no interest in getting better at Counter-Strike, this kind of thing, if it does well, seeing this for all sorts of other esports.
I would pay a lot of money for an Overwatch version of this.
Yeah, it's like Rocket League could use some of this. Fighting games need this badly. RTS games need this badly. MOBAs need this very badly. Anything along these lines.
Anything that is an e-sport that is not just a turn-based game, like a sport where reaction times and muscle memory and practice and training are literally the only ways to get better after a certain point.
Right. Even if you look at like say things like speed running, if you look at like like Link to the Past randomizer, they've made all sorts of like ROM hacks and things to let you practice fighting bosses and things like that, but they have not developed tools of this nature that will let you know whether you're doing it right or wrong. They've provided this sort of way. It's like, okay, you load up Link to the Past, we'll let you have any item combination and you can load yourself into any room to practice anything you want to practice, right? And even for the logic, it's like, okay, we made a tool online that will randomize a game, and without actually playing the game, just clicking on things, you pretend you're playing the game, and you learn the logic of where items can be. But there's nothing that like helps you get better and gives you advice of like, short of just watching pros and learning from them.
Yep.
Right.
But a lot of times pros will be doing these micro strategies or things that you couldn't see from watching. Like you see them bonk a hammer twice and stand a weird way. Like what exactly are they doing? Someone has to explain to you, oh, I'm doing this to line up this pixel because of reasons.
Right. And it's like, well, which pixel, right? It's like they describe the pixel or they show you a JPEG and they highlight the pixel. And it's like, but then you go to play, that highlight's not there when you're playing. And it's like, am I in the right pixel or not? Right. I don't know. You got to have someone watching your stream telling you need to, something like that, right? So just imagine, for any sort of competitive digital gaming, this is the right direction we need to go in and go even further in terms of tooling for improving the competitive skills of players. And I think as more tools like this come out and become widely available, I think you can see just the player base in general, because it seems like a lot of people are using this. Their servers are getting hammered, unless they're lying about that.
The player base will grow, and I think this kind of thing can reduce it. I think it'll actually make more people play these games competitively and enjoy themselves, because you can learn fundamentals without feeling embarrassed, without having to deal with a team you've let down, like all those other intangibles that drive people away from games like Overwatch or Counter-Strike. This is a safe place to gain those skills without pissing everybody off.
I don't know if they're lying or if they filled their database with other data or fake data that they got from somewhere else. But if they're off, all the data in the Playmaster database is from actual people using this, there are tens of thousands of people using this.
Yep, and I am in the top 39% of all people in this.
Which is huge, by the way. And that bodes really well. I could see, the player bases of many games just getting way better, which is great for the all games.
No, my God. If all the bronze players in Overwatch got good enough to be silver would be a lot more fun. And then the silver people join gold, and like I'll just have more fun playing with better players.
Right. That just elevates. That just helps everyone in a competitive game community. If everyone is just suddenly better at the game, even if a significant portion, just not even everyone, but just a large enough portion of the player base just gets better at the game. That just elevates everybody
It
together.
might save some scrubs, too, because scrubs always think it's not their fault. They're at low silver because they suck, but they think it's always because their team sucks. If they go in here, this is a theoretically objective measure that will tell just them. It won't publicly shame them. They won't have to deal with, like, the world knowing that they actually suck, but they'll be by themselves. They'll see these numbers, and the numbers say, yo, kid, you're not actually good at this game. But
I think it could also
here's
be
how
good.
to get good.
This could also be good for games that people play and then leave. If you have programs like this, people who play a fighting game, get dismayed and quit, might do a training program like this, get good enough at the fighting game to no longer be dismayed. And once they get over that initial hump, now they're a player. So games that are competitive and skill-based could develop something like this, might just have a larger player base from less abandonment by people who get discouraged by getting their ass handed to them right away.
Well, that is the model of all sports. Like people who play sports, they go to training camps. They like skiing. I take lessons. I've taken a shit ton of lessons over the course of my life on how to ski. I'll go and like do drills with classes and take clinics and things. Esports, this is another part of the maturity model of esports.
And so Logitech Playmaster is very exciting. I hope this itself goes further than it is now because it is
Yep.
still lacking in some areas.
I would
despite
recommend you
being-
try it, even if you have no interest in Counter-Strike.
If you have no interest in Counter-Strike, just do the baseline test.
Yep.
Right? Even if you have no interest in FPS games, just in
Because you probably own Counter-Strike.
You have to own Counter-Strike. So I guess don't buy Counter-Strike if you don't want to play it. But if you own Counter-Strike, even if you never play it, do this thing one time, right? Even if you're not an FPS player, just to see how it works and, judge yourself, I guess.
You know what game needs this more than anything? NS2.
Yeah. And I hope to see more like this for basically every competitive esport game that exists. I want to see things like this, and I want to see them go further, and I want to see them fill in the cracks that this has. And I hope that becomes like a model going forward that you got a competitive multiplayer game, where's the training program, where's the coaching, where's the playmaster or whatever, right? It's like becomes a mandatory thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if Logitech wants to provide it as a third party, that's fine too. In real sports, both first and third parties provide training. You practice with your team, and you also get, in the off season, you practice on your own with your personal practice gym or whatever you pay for, right? So,
well, even like a musical instrument, I would do drills by myself. I'd also play by myself. I also had a coach, like an instructor, to give me private lessons, and I was also in bands. Like, I had all these different ways to get good at the thing. Here we are.
Yep. So Logitech Playmaster, check it out. Exciting stuff for competitive esport gaming.
Yeah, legit exciting. Like, this is cool. And I think that was a plenty good show.